Hi, I'm Stuart from the Norfolk Honey Company and welcome to another Beekeeping Basics. Today I've travelled over to our national apiary, which is populated only with national hives, or that's the plan at least. We've got at least one commercial hive here, and I know there's a commercial nuke, but over the next week I'm going to be moving those out, and then we'll be fully kitted out with just national hives at this apiary. And the reason for doing that is to try and simplify the whole process of manipulations, and if we want to move any frames around between colonies or make up nukes and that kind of thing, we've just got the one size frame that we're using here, which is the national British standard deep in the brood body, and then the supers are all the British standard shallows. And we use the same supers for our commercial hives. I think I've already mentioned in some other videos that the overall footprint of the commercial is the same as the national, so it suits me to have just the one style of super. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do consider subscribing. We're on the cusp, and I think I keep saying this, but we are on the cusp of our beekeeping season. We've come out today because it's a lovely blue sky, sunny day. It's still a little bit chilly, but the sun is warming up very nicely. The hives are very active, and I thought it would just be a good opportunity to just open up one of the hives and maybe do a video and just show you what's happening in one of the colonies here. So all of the colonies here overwintered quite successfully, and we've got one or two that are growing really strongly, so I wanted to just check on those and make sure we don't have any queen cells. I do know that it's going to be quite cold this week. We're expecting some overnight frosts, so I'm not going to carry out any splits or manipulations particularly, because I want to make sure that the bees get through this week, and then we'll be into the month of May, and hopefully overnight temperatures will increase and the bees will really start to enjoy their spring foraging and moving into the summer period. So let's get the smoker lit and we'll pop over and have a look at one of the colonies, and I'll show you what's happening. So we've got our smoker well lit, so let's give the bees a little bit of smoke and have a look inside, see what we've got. So we've got plenty of bees here, so let's open them up and see what's happening inside. So we just go round the queen excluder and just loosen it around the edge. And then we've got a little bit of comb that's been built between the top bars and the queen excluder, and the easiest way to take the queen excluder off is, rather than pulling at the queen excluder, if you just twist the queen excluder, then it'll come off without throwing bees everywhere. And then you can have a quick look on the underside for the queen, just to make sure she's not there, and then pop it down in front of the colony. So this hive is on a national brood and a half, so we've got the brood box at the bottom and then a super which is also going to have brood in it here. So we'll just have a quick look in the bottom box first and see if we can see the queen. So that means we just need to pop the super off first, and we'll put that on top of the queen excluder so that the queen can't then run through into the supers that we've just taken off. So plenty of bees here, and in this colony we don't have what I normally like to have, which is the dummy board at the end. We've got 12 frames, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and the one that I've just taken out is 12. So if you remove the first one and put it in front of the hive, it gives you more room to inspect. So what we've actually got here are some queen cells. So these guys are actually getting ready to swarm. But we can, having said it's too cold this week for splits, we can actually take advantage of this, and because we've got queen cells we can make a split. So what I'm going to do is just have a look through and just see what else we've got in here. Lots of polished cells, which means they're being prepared ready for the queen to lay into them. And we've got another queen cell on this frame. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to just bring over a nuke box and pop the nuke box beside the colony so that if I find the queen I can settle her down into a nuke box and move her to one side. Okay, so I've got a nuke box already behind me, and now with any luck we can find the queen and place her into the nuke box. It is possible that she could be in the super that we took off, and that's one of the disadvantages of using a brood and a half, and why I would tend to prefer a commercial brood box, because the queen is now potentially in one of two places rather than just in the brood box. Okay, so after 3 attempts to try and find the queen, I finally managed to spot her. You can probably just see her walking along near the top bar. She's just come down into the middle of the frame, heading to the right, about a quarter of the way down. And she's just paused, and actually the dot that she did have on her thorax has now been almost completely removed. She's just heading up to the top right hand corner, and you can just see her moving down the frame. So I was almost about to give up and try something else, but now that I've found the queen we can take her out and put her somewhere safe, and then we can think about how we're going to deal with this colony. So having found the queen, I did opt in the end to do a split, and so we've got 2 nukes from the one colony. I've taken the parent colony over to another stand, and this is the same split that I performed last year that I recorded a video on, but it's interesting just to see it again. We've got 2 6-frame nukes here. Each one has got a single queen cell in it, and the queen cells are capped, so I'm leaving those queen cells, and what's happening now is all the flying bees that have gone out foraging are coming back to the original hive position, and so they've now got to find themselves a new home, and as luck would have it they're kind of evenly distributing themselves between the 2 nuke boxes. Sometimes what will happen is they'll all tend to go to the one nuke box, but if you just watch them for a short while, if that starts to happen you can simply swap the 2 nuke boxes around and then rebalance the number of flying bees that are coming back to both boxes. So having moved the queen away, we've now got a position where she's not going to have any flying bees with her, and so she's not going to swarm. And what we're going to do is go back to her colony now, open it up and destroy all of the queen cells that we can find, not just in the bottom box, but you'll remember that it was on a brood and a half, so it's important to check through the super to make sure that there are no queen cells in the super as well. Because even though she might not have many flying bees with her, it's still quite possible that she could swarm with a very few number of bees because she's still got queen cells in there. So it's important that you check to make sure that all the queen cells have been destroyed. So let's take the camera over and we'll go through the super. I've already checked the brood box, but let's just check through the super to see if we've got any queen cells in the super. So the queen is now in the bottom box, so we can smoke the bees down, and that will clear some of the bees off the super frames, and we'll be able to see exactly what we've got. So in order to check for queen cells, it's really important that you check thoroughly, and by that it means that you have to shake the bees off the comb and just make sure that the bees haven't produced queen cells up in the super. And one of the other things to do is to make sure that you check behind any comb that they've built out at a strange angle, because it's always possible that they can hide a queen cell behind, and those are just drone cells. You can see that the wax foundation wasn't in here in a particularly straight way, and that's why we've got this deformed comb. So here on this side we've got the start of a queen cell, so we're going to take that out, and I'm just going to straighten up this bottom piece of wax as well, and we'll pop the spare wax, the waste wax, to one side. And we've got eggs in this frame as well, so the queen has definitely been up into the super. So we'll just carry on through, shaking the bees off each frame, because we're not going to keep any of these queen cells. So that one's clear. So this cell doesn't have anything in it, and this we would call, certainly I call, a rudimentary queen cup. It's the start of a queen cell, and as soon as you get an egg into that, it would then become a queen cell in its own right. But we can just take that off as well. Again, we have brood, a rudimentary queen cell, and on this side here we've got a queen cell. It's sealed, so we just use our Hive tool to cut that away, and make sure that you take out anything that's inside. And this is royal jelly, and in there would have been a larvae as well. Again, another queen cell, and let's just see if we can tease this one open and show you what's inside. I think it's going to tear, but we'll have a go. Oh no, it's tearing. So you can see how much royal jelly they've actually loaded into this queen cell. So the queen cells are really well loaded. And we'll just cut that out completely. Another queen cell, which we'll just cut off. And these are drone cells here. These are not queen cells, these are drone cells. Then we just push the bees back down. So this is interesting. We know that these bees are thinking of swarming, and most people believe that swarm cells hang from the bottom of the frame, But if you look at this frame, we've got 2 queen cells, which are undoubtedly swarm cells, but they're right at the top of the bar. So if you were just lifting up the super and looking along the bottom, you would miss these 2, and the bees were likely to have swarmed. So again, we'll just cut this back and we'll take those 2 cells out. And this one is mostly stores. Okay, so that's all of those frames dealt with. We'll just line them up so that they're spaced correctly, and then we've got the final frame here, and you can see the stores in this one on both sides, and so we can pop that in at the end. And then we'll just clean up this comb on the top, and just that will make it easier for us when we inspect next time. Pop that to one side, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pop the super back on here. We had 2 supers, one of them hasn't been drawn out at all, but we're going to pop the other one back on and give them the food that they will need in order to build themselves back up again. And we'll just take a quick look inside this super just to make sure that there's no surprises in the form of queen cells that the bees may have decided to take an egg up into the super and create an additional queen cell. But no, this is just stores. So that's that particular manipulation completed. It took a while because I had to go through the original hive 3 times to try and find the queen, but we found her eventually, and she's now safely in here. We've destroyed all of the queen cells in this colony, and we've moved it some distance away from the original site, and I'll show you that in just a second. Over on the original site, we've now got 2 nuke boxes, each with 6 frames, and only 1 queen cell in each of the nuke boxes, and both of those queen cells are capped. All of the flying bees from here that have been out foraging are now going to go back to the original site because we've moved it sufficiently far away for them to be more than confused as to where home actually is. And so this colony will now deplete of its flying bees. It has no queen cells, and it has a queen who will continue to lay. So that should in effect prevent this colony swarming, but we'll keep an eye on it over the coming days and weeks. With the 2 nucleus colonies, we now have a situation where we can leave those until the queens have emerged and flown off and mated, and then come back and have started to lay. Now this week is going to get cold, as I said earlier, and I was a little bit unsure as to whether I should complete this manipulation or not. But there were so many bees in the colony that it was in the end an easy decision, because they'll have plenty of bees in order to keep the brood nice and warm in this colony and also in each of those nuke boxes. So let me just spin the camera around and you can see the distance that it is from the original site. So here we've got the 2 nuke boxes, and the queen is probably 8 metres away from this location now, which is more than enough distance for the flying bees to come back here. So I'm really pleased with that, although I think it's going to turn cold for a while. The bees in those nuke boxes are going to be okay, there's plenty of bees there, and the queen in the original hive has got plenty of bees as well, so I'm sure they're going to be fine. Just to recap for the beginner beekeepers out there, what I've done is I've separated the queen and some of the brood from all of the flying bees, and that's a swarm prevention method that you can employ to prevent swarming in your own colonies. We've ended up with 2 nuke boxes with 1 queen cell in each box, and the original queen set aside approximately 8 metres away. So now I'm hopeful that those sealed queen cells are going to have new queens that will emerge, and we'll end up with an increase of 2 nucleus colonies over and above that we started with. So I hope you found that interesting. It's a repeat of the split that I did last year, but I thought that it was worthwhile recording it. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. My aim for this channel is to produce as many videos through the season for you as I can, and I can really only do that with the help and support of our patrons. That's a crowdfunding site where you're able to help me provide you with lots more information, tips and techniques, and further videos to help you improve your beekeeping. And you can help support me from as little as $1. Don't forget the Facebook group, that's Stuart's Beekeeping Basics. We've got over 150 members now, and it's growing every day, and I'm delighted that so many of you are helping each other out. I'm going to be popping in and out of the group as much as I can to help answer any questions, but I'm really grateful for all the support that you're providing each other. I'm going to head home for some lunch now, and I'll catch up with you next time. Thanks for watching.